Hi, Laura. I would imagine a significant amount of your time working in health and social care is around dealing with not just the residents, but also the family of those residents as well. And I can imagine that sometimes their expectations and their hopes for their family member, in what is probably a very difficult decision in the first place anyway, uh, potentially mismatches from the reality of the situation. Have you got some, I'm sure you have, but some experience and some top tips you can tell us around how to kind of manage some of those? I'm not going to use the word complaint necessarily, but where there's a mismatch of expectation.
Yeah, definitely. It's actually probably one of the biggest decisions a family will ever make, making that decision to put their loved one into a care home. It's not something anyone ever wants to do, but unfortunately, needs often take over the wants,
Mm.
and families struggle to look after people at home 24/7. It's not an easy job. So, yes, quite often the expectations of families don't match what actually the reality is. And a lot of that's down to them feeling really guilty because they haven't kept mum at home,
Mm.
or they're going through the grief process because they're basically handing mum over to a bunch of strangers initially
Mm.
that they don't really know, and they've lost control of that.
Mm.
So it's a very sensitive situation,
Mm.
and it has to be managed with empathy. You really have to put yourself in their position. And most people I know have had experience of having to put a loved one in a care home, so you can normally put yourself in that position. And if the family do come to you with a complaint or 10 complaints, don't jump on the defensive right away. Listen to them, acknowledge what they've said, and agree to them up to a point, and sort of reinforce the fact that we know you didn't really want to put mum in a home, but we're here to do the best for her, and get to the bottom of it and make sure that they know you're actually actively listening to them.
Mm. And I think you make a great point. I can really understand kind of the emotions of it and the guilt and maybe part of the grieving process, potentially, or pre-grieving process. I can see how all of that comes together. But I'm thinking about, certainly how does that manifest itself in terms of some of the expectations that they have, some of the difficult conversations. I know you've had lots of difficult conversations over the years. So how does that manifest itself? So I understand the reason for it, but how does that what does that look like, I guess, in terms of some of the conversations or complaints, if you want, for a better phrase that you've come across?
Um, I've come in on occasion over the years to an email
Mm.
from the family member saying, I really have to raise these concerns with you, Laura. I'm not happy that, mum pressed our call bell and it wasn't answered for 20 minutes. And I'm thinking, 20 minutes? I don't think that's right. But I'll read through, and then I'll read through the whole complaint. I'll make a list of the points that have been
Mm.
raised, and then I'll make contact with the person who's raised the concerns, and I'll invite them in to meet with me, ask them if they want to come in or if they want me to just respond in writing. I'll tell them that I'll investigate every single aspect, and it's keeping them informed the whole way through the process, because your investigation, depending on how many issues they've raised, could take a day, could take a week, and it's keeping them updated and saying, bear with me, I am investigating this thoroughly. I'm
Mm.
making sure that I get every single detail that you need to know, and then if it's something where their expectations are sort of not realistic, it's being able to sit down with them and explain why they're not realistic. My mum likes to get up at 8 o'clock every morning. So do the other 14 residents on the unit. It's giving that bit of leeway and say, well, we might not manage it every day, but okay, on a Monday, mum will get up at 8, and then on a Wednesday she'll get up at 8, and we'll sort of come to an agreement, a compromise. So it's a lot of it's about managing their expectations, at the same time acknowledging that they are going through this grieving process and that they feel incredibly guilty.
Mm. I can certainly kind of imagine the emotions behind it, but it sounds like obviously what you need to do is the investigation part of it, so you've kind of got all your ducks in a row, as it were. But then perhaps sometimes they still might not accept that. Maybe there's a mismatch of expectations, or they see it from a different perspective. Have you had some experience when, despite doing a thorough investigation and presenting the facts, actually it's more of a conversation around trying to align or realign their expectations of what they can or cannot expect.
Yeah, definitely. Many years ago, I had I came into an email like that, a complaint. My deputy and I took the time, investigated every single point. I think there was probably about 8 or 9 points, and we were able to provide written evidence to the contrary. However, the person still wasn't particularly satisfied, and was sort of threatening to take it further. And I said, "Oh, that's absolutely fine. That's your prerogative. You can take it further. However, would you like to come in and have a chat so that we can try and get to the bottom of this? What else can we do? What can we do that would help? You know, is there something we need to change the way we approach something? You know, and I think ultimately it did boil down to the fact that she felt very, very guilty, and she wanted everything just to be done as she would have done it for her mum. And I said, well, you know, with the best will in the world, we can't be you. We can't do everything as you would have done it. We will do our utmost and we'll do our very best. And we did come to a compromise and an agreement, and it did work, actually. She ended up becoming one of the home's biggest advocates because we'd gone out of our way and taken that time, not just once, we had several meetings with her, over a coffee, over lunch. What else can we do to help? What would make this better for you? Bearing in mind we do have a home full of residents that we have to care for and support. So it's getting to know the person as well. You know, deep down they might have something going on in their own personal life which is impacting on, they might just be taking it out on us because there's no one else there to vent to. And it's getting to know them and them getting to know you, and knowing that they can pick the phone up and say, I don't want to complain about this, but I just thought I'd point it out. And then it's preempting anything. Setting up a weekly email, which I've done for several people in the past. I'll just drop you an email on a Friday to let you know how Dad's got on this week. Any issues that have occurred that you've not been made aware of, although you should have at the time. And it's preempting anything. And at the end of each email, if there's anything else you think we could do, just let me know. And we'll do our best to try and accommodate whatever request you have within reason.
And that sounds great because it sounds very collaborative. It's about building rapport. It's about building trust as well, isn't it?
Definitely.
Where I suspect, you know, in certain situations, the natural kind of thought is to defend. Well, actually, it's not about defending anything. What it is doing is about getting the facts straight, is what I'm hearing, 100%. That's where we start. And then it's about collaborating together. It's about listening. It's about demonstrating some empathy that you said earlier on as well. And how can we collectively kind of come to an agreement about the way forward and realign those expectations?
Yeah, and if you've got clear documentation that you can then use to evidence that actually you have been doing what you said you were going to do, and that you're keeping in touch regularly with that family, you will develop a better relationship, and they will begin to trust you with their loved one. Sounds like a great way forward. Thank you once again for sharing us your insights. Really useful. Thank you.